all through the journey of CSIR success stories under 80 years of CSIR and Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Today's webinar is on a program carried out by one of our CSIR laboratory, the National Institute of Science Communication and Policy Research, CSIR NISPER, in which simplified creative contents on traditional knowledge are being disseminated through digital platforms to the society. The program, termed as SVASTIK or Scientifically Validated Societal Traditional Knowledge, is being carried out by CSIR NISPER with an objective to showcase verification of the traditional knowledge of our nation in a scientific manner. We'll go through the journey of Swastik program of CSIR NISPER and get details of the program from the experts associated with it and with the laboratory who are connected with us today. So we are joined today with Director CSIR NISPER, Dr. Ranjana Agarwal, Professor B.N. Jagatap, Senior Professor, IIT Bombay and Chairman of the Steering Committee, Swastik, Dr. Vishwajanni Satigare, Head of CSIR TKDL Unit, Dr. Sharat Srivastava, Senior Principal Scientist from CSIR NBRI Lucknow, and Dr. Charu Lata, Senior Scientist from CSIR NISPER. I welcome you all for the webinar today. So let us begin our talk on the Swastik program of CSIR NISPER with a welcome by Director CSIR NISPER, Dr. Ranjana Agarwal, who has been the Professor of Chemistry at Kurukshetra University and also the Director of Women's Study Research Center at the university. And before taking the charge of Director CSIR NISPER, Dr. Agarwal's research contribution has been acknowledged in the form of various awards, notably Dr. Basudev Banerjee Memorial Award of 2014 and by the Indian Chemical Society and Professor S.S. Katiyar Endowment Award by Indian Science Congress. So with this short note, I invite Dr. Agarwal for her talk now. Over to you, ma'am, please.
Thank you very much, Shikha. Thank you very much. Respected Professor B.N. Jagatap, Senior Professor at IIT Bombay, Chairman Steering Committee and also Chairman of Research Council of CSIR NISPER. My dear colleague, Dr. Vishwajanni Satigare, Head CSIR TKDL, and who is also a member of Steering Committee Swastik, and she is with us from the very beginning, from the inception of this program. Dr. Sharat Srivastava, Senior Principal Scientist from National Botanical Research Institute, Lucknow, who has very willingly shared his story on traditional knowledge on the Swastik platform. Dr. Shikha from SCDD, CSIR. Dr. Charu Lata, who is heading this initiative of Swastik from CSIR NISPER. All her team members who are dedicatedly working with Swastik program. All the delegates who are joining us today on this webinar, 80 years, 80 success stories of CSIR. India has just finished, completed 75 years of independence, and we are still celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav and Amrit Kal. And it is such a fine coincidence that CSIR is also celebrating 80 years of its establishment. And CSIR started 80 years and 80 success stories. And we are very happy and feeling fortunate that CSIR NISPER is getting second chance to share success stories of the institution. Some stories, when we are talking of 80 success stories, some stories are very old, having the legacy, and some stories are new. And I think Swastik is such an initiative which is new, but which has created a very large impact on the society. As mentioned, that Swastik is scientifically validated societal traditional knowledge, and we are trying to communicate with the society. So, as we all know, that Indian traditional knowledge is as vast, as deep, as diverse as an ocean. Since Vedic times, the knowledge has been passed from one generation to another generation in diverse ways, formal and informal both. Our seers, our scholars have translated this knowledge from one generation to another generation in the form of classical text or through the Shruti Parampara, Guru Shishya Parampara. But this knowledge was not, restricted to few people. This knowledge was even available to household people, to farmers, to shepherds, to artisans, artists, etc. So that was the beauty of our traditional knowledge. And that was our identity also. Our traditional knowledge is eco-friendly. It has always involved sustainable growth, which we are talking in today's terms also. But somehow we observe that in the last 4 centuries of colonial period, somehow we have lost the faith in our traditional knowledge. There are several reasons. That is the colonial mindset, not looking at our knowledge with great respect, and also the emergence of Western science also led to the kind of creating inconfidence about traditional knowledge into the society. But we must believe and must communicate to the society that our traditional knowledge was acknowledged not only in India but globally also. If I talk of the colonial period also, we find in the there are historical documents that in the 16th century to 18th century, even British were appreciative of our Indian medicinal system, be it Ayurveda, Unani or Siddha. They were also appreciative of our medicinal system, and they also tried to adopt some practices. And they never utilized Western medicine science for the benefit of Indian masses. That was restricted only to few people. But it was only after 18th century that they started imposing the Western medicine on Indian system. And in that process, we lost the confidence in our medicinal system. But we can imagine that India with such a large population and not having access to Western medicine, how would we have survived without the Indian medicinal system at that point of time? We all understand that the difference between Indian traditional knowledge and Western science, that difference is inevitable because there is different context of social structure, our political structure, and our historical context, cultural context. So all were different. So the differences are inevitable. So now the question is not to determine which is superior, which is inferior. The question is to establish in the society that the traditional knowledge in the contemporary time is as relevant as the Western medicine. And our Honorable Prime Minister has very well said in our society meeting that there is need to combine traditional knowledge and modern science to develop world-class products. He also mentions that there is necessity to test the scientific validity of traditional practices and to clarify the same to the public wherever there is scientific evidence available to support them. So here comes the genesis of SVASTik, how it initiated by the clarion call of Honorable Prime Minister. So the responsibility was given to National Institute of Science, Communication and Policy Research to communicate traditional knowledge to the society where the scientific evidences are available or where there are works are going on, so that we can perpetuate the practice of appropriate tradition, instill the scientific temperament of verifying traditions scientifically, and boost public faith in our traditional knowledge and practices. So with this, we started with the program SVASTik. As the word itself indicates, kalyan or well-being of the human being or the living animals. So with SVASTik, we are trying to communicate knowledge to the society, which knowledge, where the work has been done on the traditional knowledge and some scientific evidence has been created by them. NISPER has earlier been also engaged in traditional knowledge dissemination, whether it is in the form of Wealth of India. This is the India's longest research projects where we documented flora, fauna and minerals of our country. Indian Journal of Traditional Knowledge, which documents the research on traditional knowledge, and also TKDL Traditional Knowledge Digital Library. It was also conceived and incepted by NISCARE at that time. So with this such a legacy, we started with SVASTik, and we are very fortunate that we have with us Dr. B.N. Jagtap as chairman, Dr. Satigiri and many other members who are guiding the whole team that how to classify the traditional knowledge, which are the traditional knowledge we should share with the society. And with their guidance and input, so far we have communicated 17 stories of Indian traditional knowledge, which have been scientifically validated. And not only in the language English or Hindi, but we have communicated in 16 Indian languages so that all people of India can be benefited with this knowledge. This knowledge is being appreciated by many. As the number goes by, more than 300,000 people have shown their footprints on various social media on the Swastik hashtag. And we are collaborating with MyGov, where 22 million people have come with the Swastik initiative, and they are being, this initiative is being appreciated by them. So I would like to say that this initiative, which we have started last year, has started showing its impact. And I believe that in coming time, in coming years, this initiative is going to be highly beneficial, particularly for the National Education Policy 2020. Because National Education Policy 2020 talks about Indian traditional knowledge from the school curricula itself. And if we provide that kind of authentic traditional knowledge on the scientific basis, I am sure that these kind of stories of our traditional knowledge will be incorporated in our school curricula, in our higher education curricula, so that more and more people get encouraged to take traditional knowledge and have pride in that and start doing research R&D activities so that we can bring about new technologies, new products for the welfare of mankind. So I once again welcome all the speakers who have spared time for us, and I look forward to listen them, and I'm sure that their inputs and their thoughts will provoke further the interest in traditional knowledge. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for such a nice welcome and giving us a brief overview of CSIR Success Story program, first of all, and also taking us through the journey of our traditional knowledge and briefly informing about the this national program on Swastik, its origin, purpose, and status. So moving further, we are also joined with Professor B.N. Jagatap, who is a senior faculty at the Physics Department of IIT Bombay. And until 2016, he has served as Distinguished Scientist and Director of the Chemistry Group at Bhabha Atomic Research Center. Currently, Professor Jagatap is the Chairman of the Governing Council of S.N. Bose National Institute of Basic Sciences, Kolkata, and also the Chairman of Research Council of CSIR NISPER. Professor Jagatap is also the Chairman of the Steering Committee for Communicating Scientifically Validated Indian Traditional Knowledge to the Society and a guiding force for the national initiative Swastik. Professor Jagatap has been honored with numerous awards and accolades in his research career, and some of them include Homi Bhabha Award for Science and Technology, Platinum Jubilee Award for Indian Science Congress. He has been elected the President of Physical Sciences section of 99th Indian Science Congress, and many awards including H.H. Jadguru Sankaracharya Award of National Eminence, and has been the President of Laser Spectroscopy Society of India from 2015 onwards. So with this, I invite Professor Jagatap for his opening remarks and also to deliver the talk on taking forward traditional knowledge of India. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Let me greet you all on the Azadi Ka Amrut Mahotsav and wish that the CSIR fraternity would add so much value to this country in the Amrit Kal. Now let me go over to my slides. I've got a very small presentation. It has been a journey of more than a year when we have been associated with Swastik for communicating scientifically validated traditional Indian knowledge. This journey has been very extraordinary and also complex. And I would like to just give you a feel how complex is this journey and what the path that we have taken forward. Now, if you look at the Indian traditional knowledge we have, is over 3,000 years of civilization. We have philosophy, logic, ethics, literature, linguistics, education, mathematics, astronomy, Ayurveda and medicinal practices, metallurgy and metallurgical chemistries, and so many. And all this shows the long and continuous tradition of great scholarship. So India was an intellectual capital of the world. At the same time, if you start looking at the other side of the story, we know that India excelled in several fields of technical arts. India was the workshop of the world. It was not only the intellectual capital, but also the workshop of the world. India had a flourishing international trade, and overall, the country was a very rich country. It is said that major portion of the world's gold used to land in India because of the fantastic technical arts that we had developed. These technical arts have been integral part of our culture, and they were also responsible for our civilization to flourish for thousands of years. However, as Professor Agarwal said, during the British rule, we lost much of it. These are the technical arts, and look at this figure. India, from year 1 to about 1700, was contributing 25% to the world GDP. Today, China contributes 15%, so you can imagine what sort of a impression on the economy of the world that India had. However, India, when it came to the British rule, the entire GDP fell. And this is the time when India lost many of its traditional skills during this time. And therefore, if you look at the traditional knowledge of India, I would like to divide it into two groups. Known knowns, we know there existed a knowledge, and we know what that knowledge is. And much of this knowledge is documented and still practiced in some form. And we have philosophy, logic, ethics, literature, linguistics, mathematics, astronomy, Ayurveda, and medical sciences falling into this category. And there is another category which is known unknowns. We know that this knowledge existed, but this knowledge somehow was not documented. It was practiced over centuries, but in many instances, it has been lost forever. And therefore, before scientific validation, we need to reconstruct this knowledge. And what is this knowledge all about? The metallurgical practices, textile, shipbuilding, seafaring, trade and commerce, water conservation, agriculture, architecture. So what we have been doing on the social media campaign on SVASTIK is, from the known category, we have picked up items from mathematics, astronomy, Ayurveda, and medicinal practices. And from the known unknowns, the metallurgy, the Kerala mirror, the Indian steel called woods, the water conservation relating to the Maurya period, agriculture. India is a home to 20,000 varieties, indigenous varieties of rice. Some part of it we have put on the SVASTIK. And architecture. One example is the Ramappa temple in which uses the great civil engineering, that is the sandbox technology and light brick technology. So we have continuous interaction with the experts in the field, and we are also adding more topics to the social media campaign. And at this point, I would like to appeal to all scientists, in particular the CSIR scientists. Your participation is needed for scientific validation. And just to give you two examples, by the Australian researchers, and that's how the whole thing is validated. We have not done it in India to that extent. And another small thing is the medical news of August 2022, how a 2-minute walk after meals can help lower type 2 diabetic risk. And this particular paper has appeared in the Sports Medicine, which says that if you walk after the meals for 2 to 5 minutes, the glucose level, postprandial glucose level, are smoothened out. And this is nothing but what was stated by Shishusruta Samhita. And I have underlined that particular part, that after food, you walk 100 steps, pada shatam gatva. So that 100 steps would mean about 2 minutes in today's. So all this knowledge exists. Only thing is we need to validate it. The Westerners are validating much of it, and we must also get into it. There are many gems in the Indian traditional knowledge. We together can run a successful campaign on unraveling the Indian traditional knowledge. With this, I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, sir, for such an insightful talk. First of all, categorizing about our traditional knowledge and how this knowledge is getting validated and can be used further for the society. So thank you very much, sir. We'll move to our next speaker, Dr. Charulata from CSIR NISPER. Dr. Charulata is Senior Scientist and Head of the Inclusive Health and Traditional Knowledge Studies Division at CSIR NISPER. She is the editor of Indian Journal of Traditional Knowledge and Indian Science Abstracts. Dr. Charulata is leading the national initiative on SVASTik, that is on communicating India's scientifically validated traditional knowledge to the society. She is the recipient of some of the prestigious top honors for young scientists in India, including the Young Scientist Awards by INSA in 2014 and NASI in 2012. She is associated. She is the associate of the Indian Academy of Sciences and the founding member of Indian National Young Academy of Science, INYAS. She is also the SCRB Women Excellence Awardee of 2014. So she has authored about 60 original research publications and review articles and book chapters in various peer-reviewed journals of high impact. So with this, I invite Dr. Charulata to deliver her talk exclusive on SVASTik. Over to you, please.
So thank you very much, Dr. Sikha, for such a nice introduction also. So I'm overwhelmed. And in fact, Professor Jagtap and Professor Rajana Agarwal, ma'am, both have set the momentum right for this webinar. Respected Professor Jagtap sir, Professor Agarwal, Dr. Vishwajanani ma'am, Dr. Sharad Srivastava, Dr. Purnima Rupal ma'am, and all other members from CSIR headquarters who have joined this webinar. So I have my heartfelt gratitude to everyone here first, and then I would be basically presenting a short PPT here. I'm just sharing my screen. Yes, so I think it's visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So today I'm very much thankful for that I have been given this opportunity to present on the national initiative SVASTik to communicate India's scientifically validated traditional knowledge to the society. So SVASTik, as ma'am has already told, that the very, it reflects the very ethos of well-being of the society. And it stands for the acronym Scientifically Validated Societal Traditional Knowledge. So at the outset, I'd just like to briefly introduce about, to give an introduction about the need to start this initiative, basically. So as we all know that India has a glorious legacy of traditional knowledge that has that spans diverse domains of science and technology, food, agriculture, medicine, mathematics, astronomy, architecture, and there are several other domains of TK that existed in India from centuries. The TK is available in different forms, classical texts, manuscripts, oral communications, and folklore. So for both conventional and non-conventional forms of TK exist. And our traditional knowledge has also been part and parcel of our daily practices. It's so inextricably linked with the human needs and nature that and some of the traditional practices are also livelihood means of concerned knowledge holders. So Yes, TK is very that way important, and it's very that's why it's very important, that our future generations also know about our glorious heritage. But as I say, that traditional knowledge has been part of our daily practices, so a lot of I would say malpractices that way, like misappropriation or misuse and piracy, so that have also crept in. And lot of misinformations and disinformations on this TK has also been rampant in the society, particularly in the time of pandemic. So it's very important to identify and validate also, so that because our present generation basically relies on the evidence based solution. So validation is very important, and then that should be effectively communicated with the society in simplified languages through digital platforms. And as far as the TK efforts and initiatives in India are concerned, several institutions and R&D organizations, higher education institutions, NGOs, and grassroots level movements have been there. But they're all scattered. They were not. They're not in a single platform, I would say. And as far as CSIR's CSI's contribution to these efforts are there. So Professor Agarwal already mentioned about Wealth of India, TKDL, and IGTK. So yes, CSI has been doing its bit, and now with Swastik, we have entered another mode of basically protecting and perpetuating our TK. So considering the importance of this topic, that is necessary to instill confidence and establish relevance of our TK through scientific evidence. Our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, in the CSIR Society meeting, called upon the need to combine traditional knowledge and modern science to develop world-class products, and also that there is a need to test the traditional practices for their scientific validity, and wherever there is scientific basis available, the same needs to be clarified to the citizens. And then following this, stakeholders consultation meeting was there, and which was chaired by the principal scientific advisor to the Government of India. And CSIR NISPER was assigned this responsibility to implement this national initiative. So the mission of this initiative is to conserve Indian traditional knowledge and practices, inculcate R&D temper or verifying tradition in a scientific manner, and instill confidence among the citizens regarding the scientific value of Indian traditional knowledge and practices. This initiative is supported by a steering committee of distinguished experts led by Professor B.N. Jagtap, and is evaluated by a monitoring committee chaired by the Director General CSIR. And as an outline of the initiative, I would say it's rather a five-step process that way, because here we are identifying our traditional knowledge. We are verifying that the validation claims are being verified internally through set standard parameters. Then documentation is done in a uniform format that has been created at CSIR NISPER, and the communication through social media currently through digital communication tools have been done, but we are also trying to foster into the print communication also. And then there is the monitoring and feedback from the various concerned stakeholders. So that also has to be taken into account. So this is a brief outline of the initiative. So our steering committee has been a guiding force, and they have basically helped us in identifying the priority areas in which the mass campaign can be done. The priority areas are mathematics, astronomy, architecture, metallurgy, water, agriculture, energy, ecology and environment, Indian medicine, Indian commerce, and Indian way of education and philosophy. And I'm very glad to inform you that we have almost covered 6 of these priority areas until now through our infographic series. We have also constituted several subcommittees of distinguished experts from across the country towards identifying the traditional knowledge and helping us with the content creation and dissemination. The strategy for identifying the scientifically validated TK is basically a two-pronged approach. One, we are largely doing the crowdsourcing, and another is through extensive literature surveys. So we have asked several R&D organizations and institutions, including CSIR and IITs, NITs, central and state universities, ICAR, and Ayush organizations to help us, to provide us with the content. And then inputs are also received from our esteemed steering committee and subcommittee members. Then the relevant and verified information obtained are basically identified and content created, and then disseminated in the form of infographics, short audio visuals like reels, YouTube shorts, and podcasts, and through dissemination is done through social media channels. And we are also taking efforts to disseminate this information in different Indian languages also. And for this, we have, I'm really glad to share that several CSIR labs and language departments of various universities have joined hand with us for translating the Swastik content in different Indian languages. For the communication part, currently the social media campaign is being done on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Then the communication is obviously done in different Indian languages, other in English and Hindi. We are also we have also started webinars and popular lectures, and recently a partnership with MyGov has also been fostered, where we are engaging with currently 2 activities for online citizen engagement, and we are planning to continue this activity furthermore. Then popular science books, popular article blogs, and special issues of ITTK or reviews published in there, and dedicated web portal. So these are all the communication strategies as of now for the Swastik campaign. So here, I've told that we are crowdsourcing information and doing literature survey and verifying the content. So until now, 17 verified TK with scientific basis have been documented and disseminated through infographics in English and 16 Indian languages. Here, the popular ones may be Aranmula, Metal Mirrors, the Euro 5, because Professor Jagtap already told that the knowns and unknowns and knowns unknowns. So that we have been doing. So Aranmula we have done. We have also done series on Brahmagupta and Aryabhatta, our Indian mathematicians who are not much known by the general public. Their contributions are not much known about the general public. So the modern hydrology and other things are there, rustless iron making of India. So all these are there. Just I would like to give a brief glimpse like how we are doing the dissemination by 2 short videos I will be playing just after this. So this particular story has been disseminated in 7 languages, and one more I'd like to play that is on Euro 5, for which Professor Sarat Srivastava will also be, talking in details. So this particular story has been disseminated in 8 English and 7 other Indian languages. So total 8 languages we have done. So as I already told, that other than infographics and audio visuals, we are also doing webinars and popular lectures. And until now, 5 such events have been done. Then a partnership with MyGov has been fostered, and currently 2 activities, a discuss activity on share your inputs to instill confidence in society about our traditional knowledge and practices is currently live. And another activity in association with MyGov is a quiz on an Indian traditional knowledge. So together with this partnership, actually, we have reached to more than 22 million people. So it's a very, very overwhelming response from across different age groups also, and it's really worth. And we are trying to continue this partnership in coming time also. Then. As far as the social media impact of the Swastik handles are concerned, we have reached to approximately 3 lakh people through Swastik social media handles, and all this is a very, very organic growth, and we are expecting much more growth in coming time. So at the end, I would just be, summarizing Swastik in the form of a short video. So at the end, I'd just like to give a brief about the future plans of Swastik. So we are determined to disseminate the Swastik information in all the 22 scheduled languages of India, and also in select foreign languages, just to bring Swastik on global platform. We're planning to publish a popular science book on the disseminated case stories. We are also trying to we'll also try to continue our association with MyGov for more citizen engagement activities. The Swastik portal and a conference also is planned. So with this, I would like to end my presentation here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Charulata, for such an informative talk. So where you have showcased the legacy of our traditional knowledge and the initiation, timeline, and the process of execution of this Swastik program. Thank you once again. So we'll move to our next speaker for the session, Dr. Sharad Srivastava, Senior Principal Scientist and Head of the Pharmacognosy Division of CSIR NBRI Lucknow. Dr. Srivastava, in his 24 years of research career, has made significant contributions in the area of quality control of crude drugs, chemotaxonomy, bioprospections, and development of scientifically validated herbal products. He has developed pharmacopoeial standards of more than 150 single herbs and also identified biomarkers for their quality control. Dr. Srivastava has published more than 175 original research papers in peer-reviewed journals, authored 10 books, and have 33 patents in his name. He is honored with Young Scientist Award from Government of UP in 2010, Sai Ratna Samman of 2012 from Sai Group of Institutions, and 6 times winner of Dr. P.D. Sethi Award. He is also involved with most of the scientific and regulatory bodies of Government of India, such as Ministry of Ayush, DST, ICAR, DSIR, and others as the member of the expert committee, scientific panels, and task forces. So with this, I invite Dr. Srivastava for his talk. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Shikha. I'm really grateful to the whole team, especially Professor Ranjana Agrawal, Madam, and Chairman Professor Jagtap, sir, and the team NISPER and Swastik as well as Team CSIR, because we all are part of CSR family. But really, I'm grateful that we have given this opportunity to showcase our indigenous knowledge-based product development. And before I start my talk, let me confess 2 points here. One, which Madam and Professor Jagtap has already told about. Long back, Professor Kalam once asked about what you are doing in pharmacognosy. You have also experienced that pharmacognosy word itself is very difficult to pronounce, or even pharmacopoeial standards. So when he asked, I said, nothing, sir. We are just adding modern science to our traditional wisdom. And that was my commitment from our CSR family, from our CSR NBRI family. And that is what till date we are proving from our end. So we are grateful to the whole team SVASTIK, not only for giving us opportunity. In fact, when we developed this product, there was a great issue of transmission of this, knowledge to unreached people. In the villagers or the society which they don't have the knowledge or experience of languages. So in local languages, going to the unreached mass, it was really very tough task for the company as well. So in turn, this SVASTIK has provided a kind of commercial opportunity to the entrepreneurs, those who are involved with our technology transfer strategy. So really, I am grateful for that purpose, because when company asked us just to translate the knowledge and make a brochure in different languages, it was really very tough task for us. And suddenly we got a mail from NISPER that this Euro 5 is included in SVASTIK mission. So on behalf of the whole team, we are really grateful, madam. And that transmission of knowledge in different languages has created a lot of business as well as opportunity for the researchers as a scientist or as a worker who are doing this research in the traditional knowledge-based product development, as well as the company, those who are taking this technology, because they are ultimately earning out of it. So it's a kind of win-win situation for both the parties. And as well as SVASTIK is not only disseminating knowledge, it is also creating kind of business to the entrepreneurs, those who are involved with products. So I have given this opportunity to share this Euro product which we have developed. As madam and sir, you have rightly said that adding modern science is essential to any of our TK-based products. And when we talk about the products of healthcare, yes, of course, we should have all sort of parameters done on any of the product to not only create a kind of business, but as well as faith in our own TK system, traditional knowledge systems. Because you know that whatever we are presenting or producing or translating, it's all because of our old traditional knowledge or samhitas or nigantus. So keeping all this in mind, we thought of developing a product, because not only this kind of random development of product, we see the requirement and need of the society. So we talk generally to our modern medical practitioners, what are the essential requirements nowadays to patients. So we were told that nowadays the kidney issue is a big problem even for the medical practitioners. And they suggested for two issues. One, to develop a very low cost product. Second, easy to carry dosage forms, which was essential for any kind of product. And I always submit my this point to all the experts, and especially the whole CSR family, that now we require to go for focusing on easy to carry dosage forms. Because when you talk about the TK-based product or Ayush products, you see the major issue with Ayush product is the dosage forms. Big bottles or big tablets or high dosage forms. So that is what is the role of CSR scientists in any TK-based product development. So we kept both these points in mind, and then we started working on developing a kind of product which will be useful not only in the urolithiasis as well as nephrolithiasis, or even the post-surgical conditions which is happening with the patients. So the concept, we have taken lead from our traditional knowledge, our samhitas and nigantus, and then after screening around 50 species, initial screening we done in vitro assays, and then we found that these 5 herbs, one Daruharidra, Vokshru, then Pashan Vev, Bhuyavla, and our Guduchi, Amruta. are the best suited combination, having best suited combination for effective and efficacious product. So we started working following not only Ayush mode, but as well as DCGI norms also, because we wanted to keep this product on the global platform. So what we did after screening, then what we did, we have followed evaluation on in vitro assay, then animal models, and then the final combination was also subjected for the clinical studies, and then we did kinetic study. And then finally, we have done the QC profiling of the product, means pre-formulation and post-formulation QC profiling. And this was the real Euro 5 which we developed in our lab. And then finally, we transferred this technology of Euro 5 to Mark Laboratories Private Limited. And the product now in market is in name of Mark Euro 5. So as we know that our Swastik basic motive is that to promote and communicate the TK-based knowledge system. Yes, of course, all these 5 plants are well mentioned in our Ayurvedic Pharmacopoeia of India and Bhavaprakash Nigantu and even Samhitas. And this is just a kind of reference which I wanted to share, that how we have proceeded, a kind of story which one must know about how to proceed for the TK-based product development. And here, if you see the table, the form used is water extract, which is, if you see, we go back to our traditional system, when Vaidyas and folk healers, they were treating the ailment, they were trying to use quath decoction, and the quath and decoctions were prepared only from the hot water or the water, cold percolation. So we tried all the plant species which we screened with only water extract, and then finally the product which we developed with following claims as per our clinical data, that our product Euro 5 is having dissolution of stone crystal from kidney and adjoining cells, 80% decrease in stone crystals in renal cortex, 70% reduction in the number of stone, healing of glomeruli cortical cells in kidney. This is really a surprising result which we have observed during our animal study, that healing of glomeruli is really rare to see, but yes, it is happening in our product. Expulsion of stone from urinary tract, and the most important part is reduced dosage form as compared to any existing brand. We have taken 2 comparator, Neri and Cystone, and our dosage form is quite reduced as compared to the existing brands. This product is also very effective in prophylactic usage as well as the recurrence of stone. And this is what, because this product is getting more popularity nowadays. So for this purpose, let me go through some of the scientific slides here, how we proceeded. In a very short, we have started working on in vitro studies, and after screening different plant species, we have made permutation combination of 5. We have made 5 herbal formulations, and then screened on different assays. One is crystallization assay of whole urine, and then we have also done nucleation assay. And what we observed, that one of these combinations is having most potential results in terms of decrease in number of crystals, even type of crystal, like morphological, like you see oval and hexagonal, because hexagonal is the most appreciated part of conversion of morphology in case of kidney stones as per medical practitioners. And then as well as this particular formulation is also having best effect in inhibition of crystal nucleation. So you see, out of these 5-6 formulations, this best formulation D, we have proceeded for the animal study with the help of CSIR IITR. We have our sister lab here. So there we have taken 2 dosage form of Euro 5, 250 mg and 500 mg. And we have taken 2 standards, Neri and Cystone there. And following all the OECD guidelines and all, we have worked on different models. I'm not going in that detail, but let me come to the slide where we have seen the clear-cut efficacious result in terms of expulsion of stone as well as decrease in level of calcium oxalate crystal. So you see here in the control condition, see a lot of crystals, or even when we have seen in case of 2 standards, still the stones are existing. But in our case, this Euro 500 mg, there is clear-cut removal of the stones. Similar is the case of renal cortex area. You see, our product is having better results as compared to other comparators. And there was no behavioral abnormality observed in any of the treated animals, and no death was recorded among the treated groups. When you see the gross kidney morphology after the treatment, this is the 500 mg dosage form of our Euro 5, and this is the 250 mg. Here also we observe the healing of medullary region, which we can see the high magnification here only. And in this high magnification, it is very, very clear. See, the stone, black particles are stones. And when we treated with Euro 5 and neri and then stone, this our Euro 5 is better and having effective role in the treatment. And this is the gross morphology after treatment. Here also you see the outer lining, the morphological line is blurred in case of the nephrolithiatic kidney portions, but this Euro 500 mg is having very clear-cut morphological boundary. There is no blur, and it's a very, very clear effect of our Euro 5. We have also done some other parameters. I am not showing all the details here, but I am just mentioning few of that we have seen the percentage reduction in stones in kidney after treatment or formulation. Here, the level of tissue calcium in case of our product, there is a clear-cut decrease in tissue calcium seen in our product as compared to other products as well as the combinations. And then finally, after the animal studies, we found that our product Euro 5 500 mg is having high anti-nephrolithiatic activity in animals in ethylene glycol-induced nephrolithiasis, better than any existing brands. It is having better clearance of stone with less tissue damage. Less tissue damage we are focusing here because it's not only reducing the number of stone or the size, it is also converting the structure or the morphology of the calcium oxalate crystal. So as I mentioned in previous slide, in in vitro studies, that it is converting to hexagonal structure. So this is what is the advantage of this particular product when it is converting the morphology into hexagonal. So our kidney or UT linings are not getting damaged out of these stones when it is passing through that area. So there is a decrease in level of tissue calcium, increased in urinary calcium secretion as well as we have observed in our animal study. And then we also did safety assessment, short term as well as long term, as per GLP compliance. So in single dose acute toxicity study, there was no mortality and no notable clinical abnormalities observed. As well as we have also seen the Euro 5 is considered as acute toxic category under 5 as per GHS norms with an oral LD50 higher than 2000 mg per kg body weight. So we are in a safe zone. Our product is not at all toxic. Then we have also done long-term toxicity studies, and as per study data, there is no observed adverse effect observed in case of Euro 5 500 mg dosage form. Then after all these animal studies and in vitro studies, we also proceeded to clinical trial, phase 3 clinical trial, and initially we approached after registering it to our clinical trial registry information center, CTRI. It is available on the CTRI website as well as we approached to DCGI for its clearance to proceed further as a product. And then there also we had some issues of how, because DCGI were not giving at that time Ayush products clearance and they had no certain such norms. So, and we actually after our discussion with that time DCGI, I mean CTSO officials as well, because we were taking comparator as a tamsulosin. We wanted to compare our this PK based product to the modern medically practiced product tamsulosin, which is the universally accepted product by urologists in terms of kidney stone removal. So we wanted to take that comparator, and that is why we approached DCGI. Otherwise, as per DCGI norms, it was not required to go to DCGI. However, when we approached them, initially they don't agree to it. And then finally, there is an Ayush cell created there after DCGI's recommendation, and we got clearance from Ayush cell for its clinical trial. But comparator we have changed as a cystone because there was no provision of taking any modern medicine as a comparator. So our primary objective for this study was to demonstrate the reduction in size of stone by Euro 5 treated patients as compared to the marketed product, and also to demonstrate the urine stone expulsion from baseline to 45 days. It's a standard protocol. Then urine stone expulsion in post lithotripsy condition, which we call ESWL, extracorporeal shock wave lithotripsy. And then we have two secondary objectives. One, to demonstrate the safety and efficacy of Euro 5 as compared to the standard from baseline to 45 days. And then there was another issue which we observed during our interaction with urologists, that they required a product which is having a kind of pain management strategy. So we also kept this point here as pain reduction parameter. And then after clinical trial on 125 patients, we observed that our Euro 5 had significant reduction in stone size as compared to cystone. Then average stone size in Euro 5 was 12.56 mm at the baseline, which was reduced to 8 mm at the end of study. And then finally, it was complete expulsion of stone after the follow-up plan. And then Euro 5 also showed significant result in stone expulsion as compared to stone. It was also effective in pain management as compared to the standard which we have used. Another point which we observed, that there is a clear-cut effectiveness observed in case of serum creatinine, reduction of serum creatinine as compared to the existing brand. So, these are the parameters, these are the observations which we noted down during our clinical trial, which was conducted at KGMC, King George Medical University in our city only. And these are the graphical representation of the data.
Sir, sorry to interrupt, but we are running out of time.
Yeah, so I came to end only. And then we did kinetic study. And then we also did QC profiling. We have identified 6 biomarkers, which was a kind of mandatory requirement as per our own strategy. And this is the feedback of the product from the existing brand, Mark Euro 5, from their website. It's really very effective. And because of the dissemination through Swastik, we get so many calls from different areas of the country. And one of the person who is in Tamil Nadu, although he's from UP only, he called us and he came to us. He is an IRS officer. He was having recurrence problem, and then he used this product and under the supervision of PGI, SGPGI doctors. And he mentioned that it's really a wonderful product. What I mean to say is that this is not only a product. Because of Swastik dissemination, we also got so much of encouragement and operation of this particular product for commercial prospection. And then I'm not going into these details, which is not required here. With due permission of Chair and Madam, I would like to add few more slides here, that not only Euro 5, we are also working on other products, TK-based product or need-based intervention, which is the basic motive of TK system we are doing here in our lab. And this is the one of that product which we if required, we can share with you, that traditional Kadha concentrate. And this was a need-based intervention during the COVID conditions. We prepared a Kadha concentrate. It's a completely scientifically validated Kadha concentrate. Only 2 drops. Drops are defined as a 40 mg per dosage. Twice a day you have to take, and your cough, cold, and flu-like symptoms will be away in 7 days. However, we have also done clinical trial on mild COVID cases after due permission from the regulatory bodies, and we have also submitted this information to Ministry of Ayush for endorsement. This product is effective not only in terms of cough, cold, and flu-like symptoms, this is also highly effective in mild COVID cases. And within 14 days, your all such symptoms get removed, and you are completely, not I can say that cured, but at least you are completely recovered from the COVID conditions. And this is low-cost technology we have already transferred to an industry.
Sir, we should move to our next speaker now. So yeah, I would request you to please conclude.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'll share all these information with Dr. Charu and SVASTIK team if required.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Thank you for giving this opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir, for informing us about this Euro 5 product of NBRI, which has been included as one of the highlighted product of SVASTIK program. So now we'll move to our next speaker for the session, who is Scientist H and heading CSIR's Traditional Knowledge Digital Library TKDL unit, Dr. Vishwajanni Satigare. TKDL is a tool for defensive protection of Indian traditional knowledge currently pertaining to the Indian systems of medicine. Dr. Vishwajanni has initiated steps for expanding the scope of TKDL, enlarging the information content in the database. Dr. Satigare has been associated with CSIR at headquarters with the Planning and Performance Division and the Research Project Planning and Business Development Directorate. She has represented CSIR in various inter-ministerial meetings and forums. So prior to CSIR, she was also associated with the New Drug Discovery Research at Ranbaxy Research Laboratories and Smart Analyst Private Limited, working in the domains of pharmaceuticals and drugs. So with this, I request Dr. Vishwajanni to please deliver her talk now. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Shika. Thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you so much, Dr. Agarwal and Professor Jagtap, for giving me this opportunity. I'm really very proud to be on this platform talking about SVASTIK, because if I get to, speak a lot about SVASTIK, I can say that, within a year's time or just about a year's time, we have already figured in the 80 gens of CSIR. So I think Dr. Agarwal, kudos to you and the team of SVASTIK and Professor Jagtap for steering us on the right path. Thank you so much. So when we are talking of traditional knowledge, it is largely an emotion in us, and we kind of connect to traditional knowledge as it is a part of our everyday life. And in this context, while we are emotionally connected to the traditional knowledge, with advancement of time and technologies, we have rather become very rational beings. We look for evidence, and I think this national initiative of SVASTIK, that is communicating India's scientifically validated traditional knowledge to the society, is a very timely initiative from the CSIR, from the government of India, to ensure that our traditional knowledge is conserved. We inculcate the temper of R&D based on our traditional knowledge, and also instill confidence that our traditional knowledge holds relevance not just for today but for tomorrow as well. So as many of the speakers before me mentioned, that our Indian Gyan Parampara, that is our traditional knowledge, is across various domains, be it food, be it medicine, be it metallurgy, architecture, or many of the other cultural expressions. So in this context, as many of these speakers already mentioned, we have various forms of this traditional knowledge: disclosed traditional knowledge, codified traditional knowledge, non-codified traditional knowledge, oral traditional knowledge, confidential traditional knowledge, secret traditional knowledge, and many more. It's a gamut of very complex terminologies when we're talking of traditional knowledge, which we largely believe is very simple. Even if you are to talk about, the health matters, the Indian systems of medicine, there are so many, be it Ayurveda, Unani, Sovarika, Siddha, or even yoga for wellness. You see that there's so much of information available, and it has been largely a part of our traditions running over thousands of years. That's the fact that we still recall many of these practices that has been running over thousands of years, tells that it is relevant even today. Otherwise, we would have forgotten it so much long back. So when we have to draw corollary with the modern medicine, which emerged only after the Industrial Revolution in the 18th century, we see that when we are talking of just about drugs that had been approved over the last 40 years, it just comes to about 1900 drugs, and of that, the natural product-based drugs form a large part of it. Close to about 40% of the drugs that are available as modern drugs are either the natural product themselves or derivatives or mimics of that. Thus, our Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, Yoga, and as well as Sovarika form a very important basis for validation. So when we are talking of validation, there are several ways with which one could validate. But the essence in when we are talking of drugs especially is about, looking for understanding the efficacy and effectiveness of our Ayush interventions. So the clinical trials become a must. So let me just explain to you, a couple of examples where the CSIR came into the forefront to ensure that our Ayush interventions, form a primary mode of protection against COVID-19. So we had, done 4 clinical trials along with the Ministry of Ayush to see the efficacy and safety of Ayurveda formulations. So here we looked at 3 formulations, that is IR64, which is a polyherbal formulation. Then we had Shamshamani Vaticulus, which is Tinospora cordifolia and Papillongum, and Yashtimadu, which is Glycyrrhiza glabra. Of that, the IR64 has given us very good results. It has been found to be effective in the treatment of mild to moderate COVID-19 patients, and the drug is being distributed across the country. So this is the validity that a clinical trial can provide to our traditional knowledge. Now, coming of prophylaxis, when we are talking of medical treatment, one is, a therapeutic intervention, which helps you overcome the disease. Whereas when you're talking of prophylaxis, it is a preventive measure. So we had tried ashwagandha as a prophylaxis against COVID-19. And this was a clinical trial with about 400 subjects, which are all high-risk populations, that is the healthcare workers themselves. And this particular drug was compared with the hydroxychloroquine, the standard of that time. We had seen that 382 subjects fulfilled the completion of the trial, that is the protocol, and of them, just only about 7 of these subjects turned COVID positive. 5 in the ashwagandha arm and 2 in the hydroxychloroquine arm. So as per the protocol that has been defined before the clinical trial, we found equivalence of ashwagandha with the hydroxychloroquine within the defined equivalence margins. Not only that, we found that ashwagandha, we've been talking about the immunoboosting activity. We've been talking about the safety of this Ayush intervention since time immemorial. And what we had actually found is that during the clinical trial also, there was no statistically significant difference in the adverse effects between the both arms. But specifically, if I have to talk about the ashwagandha arm, there were, lower number of adverse effects compared to the hydroxychloroquine arm. So this kind of proves that Ayush interventions, that is our traditional knowledge, is relevant even today. Just to kind of give you a few more examples that have also been quoted or cited under the SVASTIK platform is yoga and meditation, where clinical studies conducted in the USA showed that yoga practices can enhance immune function without activating the inflammatory signals. So this is a kind of validation. Our traditional knowledge, as I said, is not limited to only the systems of medicine. When we talk of agriculture and traditional practices, I just wish to give you an example of Punam Jala, which is the world's oldest fermented liquid organic manure. Today, I guess, we are all very excited about organic farming and how it can improve not only health, but also many, even in terms of the income to the farmers, a general ecological balance can be brought in through organic farming and many more. So here are ancient texts, that is Vriksha Ayurveda or Krishi Parashara, do talk about these, organic manures. So the first one was mentioned in the Vriksha Ayurveda of Surpala, and Punam Jala, the original version was made out of all the waste, the animal bones, the marrow, blood, fish, and along with the plant waste. It was fermented and used. Later on in 2012, the herbal Punam Jala was developed by Dr. Y.L. Nene. And this is, has both fungicidal as well as insecticidal activities. It is not limited to just development of any, new technology based on our traditional practices. It is very important to validate it, extensively. So this particular Punam Jala, the herbal Punam Jala, was tested on the field with various crops, be it vegetables, fruits, and tea, and many more across various regions of the country, such as Arunachal Pradesh, Darjeeling, Kerala, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, and many more. What they had seen is, in general, the productivity of the crops increased between 20 to 30%. Going on with the agricultural practices, India has been home to several thousands of traditional rice varieties. Dr. Richaria from Orissa could collect about 19,000 of them. There are still many researchers across the country who are collecting many of the germplasms of our traditional rice varieties. Particularly, I would like to draw your attention to the example from Wayanad in Kerala. This particular region was growing about 75 different traditional rice varieties. Over time, it just came down to less than 20. So the community there, the village community, was really very worried that, they are losing out their traditional practices, with their traditional crops. So the MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, they initiated the Rice Seed Village program and with the support of DST. And what this particular program did was to validate and commercialize economically important medicinal and aromatic rice varieties. So under the program, over 2 farming families were assigned to conserve 3 to 5 traditional varieties. And overall, this led to, the benefit of about 300 farmer families, covering over 1,000 farmers, who have access to this quality seeds. So here, the recognition to them was as the genome saviors, and the plant varieties and Farmers' Rights Act protection provided them this particular award. And following this example, 25 seed villages have been established all over the country. Our traditional knowledge is not just related to, as is mentioned, a couple of areas. We have had, several water conservation methods. I think a very recent article in Better India talks about an IAS officer, conserving about more than 100 such water bodies in the state of Tamil Nadu itself. So they have relevance even today when you're talking of traditional knowledge. Professor Jagtap did mention about the Indian metallurgy and the ancient Indian iron making processes, which has been validated by, the researchers from Australia. This is the paper that has, been cited, and they have actually, hypothesized the probable protective mechanisms of corrosion resistance of the iron that has been developed using our traditional methods. We still have our, architecture being displayed even today, despite, thousands of years of its existence. One example is of the 10th century mud building made of cob, that is a blend of raw earth, water, and fibrous materials in the Spiti Valley of Himachal Pradesh. It is still standing today, despite the, very, drastic weather conditions of that particular region. The traditional bungas were rebuilt after the Bhuj earthquake in 2001. So this is again based on, mud bricks and matrix of tree branches packed with mud. So here 1,400 such houses were built after the earthquake in Bhuj, and this was replicated even in Bihar, with about 2 model villages having 15,000 such, houses built in this particular region. It is not just limited to science and technology and various aspects of the science and technology. Traditional knowledge is also prevalent in terms of cultural expressions, be it in terms of, the metal making, the textiles and the embroidery or handicrafts, and you would see them being sold even today. These are means of livelihood to many people across the country. Traditional knowledge, as Professor Jagtap has mentioned, is not limited to only the codified knowledge. Even the the wisdom that is given by our ancestors, the elders of our families and the countrymen, do speak about how traditional knowledge has been transmitted over thousands of years. This particular example on this slide is to just tell you that as traditional wisdom, the elders provide early warning systems based on our traditional knowledge as well as folk beliefs. One is a case from Assam, where they predict the course of rivers, rainfall, and floods in Assam. The second one was the example of the tsunami in the Andaman and Nicobar regions, where the indigenous community living there, they went up to the higher areas of the island and thus could save themselves from the tsunami. So when we are talking of traditional knowledge and the SVASTIK initiative that CSIR has taken up today, it is a very complex initiative. Let me tell you, there are high challenges associated. Just by giving you an example of the Ayush or the healthcare related interventions, let me tell you, when you're talking of validation, there are several ways by which one could say that, that their particular intervention is scientifically validated. When I talk about, the Ayush interventions, it could be lab-based experiments, or it could be just a phase 1 clinical trial to prove that it is, tolerated well. It could be case reports, it could be cross-sectional studies, it could be case control studies, even the randomized controlled studies or the drug registration dossiers. Depending on the level of evidence that is there, the SVASTIK makes an effort to communicate this scientifically validated intervention to the extent it has been validated. So such is the case with the SVASTIK. We are running a very, very rigorous and robust exercise, and we would also like to invite all the viewers of this particular platform who has joined us today to please share this particular knowledge with us, and we will look into the merit of putting it out on our SVASTIK platform. I'd like to close my talk by saying that the TKDL is a global benchmark in itself. The cabinet, which is headed by the Prime Minister, on 17th August 22, opened the TKDL database to all the users beyond the patent offices that it is currently limited. We hope that this would catalyze traditional knowledge inspired newer innovation and trade, and we would welcome all of you to get in touch with me in due course of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your talk on various aspects of traditional knowledge, including the information on use of this traditional knowledge in the difficult time of COVID-19 as well, with scientific validation. So thank you once again, and thank you all the speakers for your informative talks and sharing information on the national program of SVASTIK. So without any further delay, I have just one question, whether this entire information, collated information about SVASTIK, is available anywhere in the website of NISPER or SVASTIK. If we are connected with Charu, ma'am.
Yeah, we have a dedicated page on our NISPER website, so where you can find the information and all the links. And we are in the process of developing a web portal for SVASTIK separately, so that will be there. But there is a dedicated page, a web page on SVASTIK.
Okay, thank you so much.
Portal, sorry.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. So we'll move ahead for conclusion of the session. It was very nice and great listening to all the speakers today, and fascinating to know about the SVASTIK program from all the speakers. And so now I invite Dr. Charulata once again to kindly close the session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Shikha, for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to propose the concluding remarks and vote of thanks. So first of all, I'd like to thank all the distinguished speakers for taking their time out and talking on different facets of traditional knowledge in SVASTIK and how to carry it forward. Professor Ranjana Agarwal, in her welcome address, rightly stated that Indian traditional knowledge is diverse and deep, and there is a need to restore the faith of people in our TK, and then and that also that is our TK जो है वो in the contemporary times also holds relevance. So that's very important. And taking forward, Professor Jagtap also led us to a journey of the glorious traditional knowledge of India, which made it our intellectual capital, and his call to different stakeholders and Indian scientists. Then Westerners are doing research on traditional knowledge and doing the validation, but that kind of enthusiasm has yet not been there in from the Indian contemporary R&D colleagues. So that has to be taken up. And then Dr. Srivastava also talked extensively on the Euro 5 synergistic polyherbal formulation for urolithiasis conditions. And I really loved his, commitment to add the modern science into traditional wisdom, and his support during the SVASTIK initiative when we were, disseminating on the Euro 5. So we had a lot of back and forth discussions on his content. So I'm really thankful to him. And then Dr. Vishujani Satyagiri ma'am told us so many things on the contemporary TK like that can be disseminated under SVASTIK, like Kunab Jala, and then the Bhunga and other things. And I would like to assure you, ma'am, and also Professor Jagtap, that the stories on Ramappa Temple, Kunab Jala, the 2-minute walk after, eating any food. So all these are in pipeline, and very shortly we are going to disseminate that. Like they're all in different phases of content creation and review, and the documentation part is there.
Ma'am, you have got muted.
Yeah, I request all of you to support this initiative wholeheartedly. And at the end, I'd like to express our gratitude and thank to each and everyone associated with this webinar. A special thank to the new head of our CSIR family, Director General CSIR, Dr. N. Kalai Selvi, for providing this unique platform to showcase the CSIR success stories and inclusion of, in fact, SVASTIK, which I would say mark its first birthday. We exactly rolled out on 25th of August on our social media platforms, and it is 22nd of August today. So one of my teammates, he was asking me, ma'am, birthday mein kya kar rahe hain? I said, we are doing this CSIR success story. So this is there. And then I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Professor Ranjana Agarwal for her mentorship and guidance. To take this initiative forward in a very responsible and enthusiastic manner at the same time. So we owe a lot to you, ma'am. Professor B.N. Jagtap has been a guiding force to this initiative as a chair of the SVASTIK steering committee, and it's really great to discuss with him on various matters. He gives a lot of suggestions and know how to go ahead. So, so sincere thanks to him also. I'd like to give my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Vishujani Satyagiri, head TKTL, for her valuable inputs and support to the initiative and all the fruitful discussions we have at SVMAR. And by thanks to Dr. Sharad Srivastava, who has been my one-time colleague at NBRI and now as a collaborator of SVASTIK. So I'm really thankful to you, sir, also. Then I'm highly thankful to the entire SVASTIK team at CSIR NISPER, Dr. G. Mahesh as the advisor, Dr. Barman for his social media management, Ms. Char Verma, Dr. Suman, and Shubda for all the help whenever needed. I'd also like to thank the entire team of Science Communication and Dissemination Directorate at CSIR headquarters, particularly Dr. Purnima Rupal ma'am, head SCDD, Dr. Shikha, who has coordinated this webinar so successfully, Mr. Deepak, and all other members of the headquarters for making this webinar a success. And most, most importantly, my heartfelt thanks to all the CSIR NISPER staff, students, and all our viewers for connecting with us today and to be part of our, to celebrate our success, yeah, that first 1 year success, yeah. So thank you so very much. Over to you, Shikha.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the closing remarks and summarizing the session. So all the viewers, stay tuned to our upcoming sessions on CSIR success stories. Till then, bye, goodbye. And